We're going to have more people joining us, but I'm going to kick it off. Welcome, everyone. Simon Rosenberg, Hopium Chronicles, back for one of our discussions with folks who are leading the way in this challenging time. And I'm joined today by a good friend, John Bowzer Bauman, who goes by John Bauman, who is the head of Social Security Works PAC, president of Social Security Works PAC, and vice chair of the Seniors Council of the DNC. He also goes by Bowzer, who many of us remember from on the good days, a guy who's taken his career as an entertainer and a singer and turned it into something deeply meaningful for the American people. John, welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thanks, Simon. It really is great to be here. We've been talking about doing this for a while, and I'm glad we're doing it because senior issues have moved to the front burner.
Well, talk about that, right? I mean, these are issues you've worked on a long time. You've set up senior councils around the country. You've worked in dozens, supported dozens and dozens and dozens of campaigns in recent years. You've traveled all over the country. You've Zoomed all over the country working these issues. And here we are, right? We're facing what may be an unprecedented attack on Social Security, a clear effort to severely curtail Medicaid, which also serves a lot of seniors in ways that people don't always understand. I mean, give us an update on what you're seeing out there.
This is the biggest assault on Social Security since I started doing this, working on senior issues in 2004. And even more to the point, Nancy Altman, who is my friend and colleague who founded Social Security Works, has said this is the biggest assault on Social Security in the 50 years that she has been working on Social Security. This is really an unprecedented assault, and we're not even sure where it's trying to go or where it's coming from. The Elon Musk factor in this, the Doge factor in this, has opened up a whole new universe of possible avenues for them to really wreck the program. Martin O'Malley, who was recent Social Security Commissioner, who has called us for a lot of information and advice when he was doing that job, has been saying they're trying to wreck the program so they can rob the program. We've always felt that. I've said for a long time that the goal has been to privatize the program. And the reason for privatizing the program is because if the Republican Party could deliver the massive Social Security trust funds to Wall Street, which is in essence what would happen in privatization, the rewards coming to them from Wall Street would be unfathomable. We can't even imagine how much money that would be. Um, but we're not even sure exactly what they're intending to do right now with this really frontal assault on the Social Security Administration itself. Most likely, the end goal is the same, which is to try to privatize the program and get their mitts on the money in one way or another. But boy, this assault on the administration itself is something that's really scary. And there's a good article in the Washington Post today, again by Lisa Rain, who's done yeoman work or yo woman work, I probably should say, work on this set of issues about how many jobs they're looking to cut at the Social Security Administration. Once again, how many offices they're intending to close, which is unclear and seems to change every day. And there clearly is a goal to wreck the administration of the program, and then probably at the end of that say, well, see, it doesn't really work, so we'll have to do something with this program to fix it. This is scary. This is truly scary stuff beyond what it's usually been in the past, which is to pretend that they have to raise the retirement age or do some version of cuts in order to keep the program solvent past 2033 at this point, or 34 or 35, depending on which actuarial opinion we get. When the simple answer to that, Simon, as I think you probably know, is to adjust the cap on Social Security that has been there forever. And
Yeah.
the cap currently is $176,100, which means that no one pays in 1 cent of Social Security to payroll tax, FICA, on income over $176,100. So getting to the core of that immediately, Elon Musk, let's say, stopped paying in to Social Security on January 1st. Somebody making $1 million this year stopped paying in, I think it was on March 3rd, which we call Millionaire's Day. The cap is a real issue, but the cap is easily solved. All we'd have to do is pass some good Social Security bill like John Larson's Social Security 2100 that's been sitting around in Congress for several years now, and that would extend the life of the program and do what we actually need to do, which is not cut the program, but to expand this modest program that has kept more American seniors out of poverty than any other program in its history, along with Medicare. Social Security and Medicare are the two most successful domestic programs in the entire history of the United States of America. We do not need to cut them, we need to expand them.
Well, let me ask you about, can you go into a little bit more detail about what's happening with the Social Security Administration itself? I mean, there's stories of offices being closed and phone facilities being, the ability to call in being curtailed. And why does that matter so much? Why do seniors need access to the Social Security offices, to the phone numbers? Just walk us through a little bit of that for the people watching today who may not be really familiar with how that all works.
Well, my good friend and brother, as you probably discovered dealing with me today at the age of 77 and me trying to
Mm,
figure out how to get on the Substack app,
yep.
you know, which
Congratulations, by the
which
way.
actually turned out to
Yeah.
be very easy, and even I
Yeah.
could do it, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. But seniors are not generally the most technologically adept people. A lot of seniors have problems with their mobility, and this recent assault, which has involved, they keep doing these things and then pulling them back because the outrage is immediate and the outrage is fierce. Um, but they tried a gambit where you're not going to be able to call in anymore, and people are actually literally going to have to go to offices, which is impossible for a lot of people. And then the lines at the offices are long. The lines on the phone are long. You can sit on the phone. Before this assault on Social Security, the staffing at Social Security Administration offices, at the Social Security Administration generally, and its 1,200 offices, was at a 50-year low before Elon started cutting personnel. So now that they're cutting personnel, the staffing problems are vicious, and the problems for seniors getting through. Like we had a hearing this week. Hakeem Jeffries called a hearing this week in Steering and Policy, and it was on Tuesday. And we at Social Security Works, I accumulated a whole lot of videos from people who were having problems of various kinds, including there was one guy, Wayne Benke in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, who made a video. He was a veteran. He wore his veteran's hat, and he was talking about he had to get through to the office. He went there, couldn't talk to anybody because they were so understaffed. They sent him back home and told him to call in on the phone. He called in on the phone and was on hold for hours and hours and hours, gave up, went back to the office. Just these horrible kinds of stories, and they're going on all over the country already. And that's before the next set of staffing cuts and office closures. Um, there's another story I really want to tell you because
Yeah.
you and I have talked over the years about elections a lot, and what's really going on here, in my opinion, is that Donald Trump has about 18 months in which he's going to try. He is busy trying to wreck the institutions of the United States of America, and then we're going to be in the midterms, right? Assuming that we can hold, the resistance holds, what you and I do, what you do so brilliantly every day with Hopium, which is to get all of us out there enthused and energized to fight this. Okay, let's stipulate that in 18 months there were really going to be elections, and that New York 17 is going to be a district that is very important. It's a district that Joe Biden won, Kamala Harris won, but it still has a Republican member of Congress. The office, not in that district, but in the next district, but it's the office that everyone goes to from 17 and 16, is in White Plains, New York. They are closing the White Plains, New York office. It services a massive number of people. So Mike Lawler, the congressman in there, sends out a tweet, I think it was, don't think it was a blue sky, I don't think he's on there, sends out a tweet objecting to the office closure. Fine, that's what he should do. He should defend his constituents and he should defend that Social Security office. But then he sends out a follow-up tweet saying that, well, this office was scheduled to be closed during the Biden administration. So this has nothing to do with Elon Musk or Donald Trump or Doge or anything. That is a flat out, complete, ridiculous lie, as are all the Elon Musk stuff, as is all the Elon Musk stuff with, 150-year-old people are getting Social Security checks, 300-year-old people are getting Social. It's completely false, right? So Lawler sends out this tweet about how somehow this is Joe Biden's fault, when, yes, the schedule was supposed to be closed. The office was supposed to be closed, scheduled to be closed in December because it had black mold, and the office was going to be reopened when the mold was cured, or the office was going to be moved to another office. The Social Security office was not scheduled to be eliminated. That is entirely the work of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. So let's tell people the truth.
Well, and how did the hearing go in your mind? I mean, I know you worked really hard. What I should say to everybody is that the House Democrats, this is something we have advocated for at Hopium Chronicles, they've now held three what are called shadow hearings where the issues that we want to bring up in front of Congress aren't being aired. So Hakeem Jeffries and the Democratic leadership team have now held three of these hearings in the Capitol, but not in the hearing rooms, right, where they're able to have a hearing based on the stuff that we feel need to be aired out. And the one that happened this week was on Social Security. And I know, John, you supported it. Your organization helped provide, witnesses and videos and things. I mean, it seems like the Democrats went in, before the tariffs hit. This was the big play of the House Democrats this week. They're very committed to this. I mean, share a little bit about your sense of working with them this week.
Yeah, number one, I have to say that Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries has really been excellent on this issue um, the entire time. This is clearly an issue that he personally cares about, and he understands that Social Security is a real kitchen table issue for all Americans, for Republicans and MAGA who voted for Donald Trump, for independents, and of course for Democrats. It's a real kitchen table issue for everybody. It matters, and that's why he understands that it's got to be on the front burner, um, both for policy reasons and for electoral reasons. So spent a lot of time gathering videos from people who are really going to suffer if Social Security is cut in any way, and certainly if the program were to disappear, it's their entire lifeline. There are a lot of statistics that I could throw at you that about the way people depend on Social Security. I think probably the best one is that about 40% of American seniors use Social Security as the bulk of their income, the majority of their income. This really just affects everybody, and everybody knows it. So the threats become real. The more people become more real, the more people they affect, and that's really what's going on. The Democratic Party has turned out to be the party that cares about this issue. And the Republican Party, it shouldn't be this way. This should not be a partisan issue. The simplest way to put it is that everybody should care about this issue. It's unfathomable that Republicans, elected Republicans, don't seem to care about it as much as they should, because it entirely affects their constituents
Yeah.
as much as it affects Democrats. Except for the fact, Simon, that both you and I know that what the modern Republican Party really cares about is the tax cut for their great big fat cat rich donors like Elon Musk, and that it doesn't really care about its the rest of its voters.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I think it's a reminder for folks today that the whole premise of Doge, right, is that they're going to come in and save taxpayers a lot of money by making things more efficient. Meanwhile, they've actually, you know, eliminated illegally and unconstitutionally entire agencies like USAID, um, and are attacking the integrity of the ability. Because there comes a point, all of us have worked on projects, run things, and you know that there comes a point where something goes from being made more efficient to breaking it, right?
Right,
And we've crossed into the breaking place
right,
now again and again and again throughout the government, where these systems are being stressed. They're now going to rewrite the code supposedly underlying the Social Security Administration. God knows that would be something we would never trust to Elon Musk and his team, right? For whatever reason they would need, because they can build back doors into the system if they wanted to. But the thing that's
dangerous.
in, yeah, the thing to keep in mind about all this Doge activity and what Musk has been doing is that the plan that Donald Trump and the Senate and House Republicans are trying to put through Congress would actually dramatically increase the deficit, because the tax cuts are so huge that it's a giveaway of more money than any of the savings that would be accrued the
Absolutely.
by Doge. And the where they're looking for the big savings is actually coming from Medicaid, which also
Right.
affects many, many seniors. And then the second piece of this to remember about the hypocrisy of all this is because what they're doing is taking away stuff from regular people in order to give themselves bigger tax cuts. It's a
Right.
transfer of wealth, right? That we're talking about is that there's an estimate now, and we'll see, this is a Treasury estimate that was leaked to the public, that the cutting back of the operations of the IRS, another large bureaucracy, would mean that we would take in $500 billion a year every year in less revenue, meaning that, which is will be the most one of the most expensive programs in American history. So Musk, instead of Trump and Musk coming in and saving people money, they're actually spending
Right.
extraordinary amounts of money through their incompetence and through their greed.
Greed.
And so all the premise of why they're going in and undermining the integrity of the Social Security system itself, and eventually potentially privatizing it, as you said, John, is all bullshit, right?
Right.
And it's all a
Correct.
lie. It is a big lie. And it's why, for those of people like John who work every day on making sure the American people get what they put into this system and that it doesn't get raided by Musk and Trump and others, is that it makes all of this even more unpalatable and unacceptable, because at the core of the rationale is a huge lie, and that they're lying to the public about what they're doing. And John, I should tell you the second thing I just wanted to say to bolster your argument about the centrality of Social Security, because we all know about Social Security, we all pay into it, and I think it's one of the reasons why it's so popular is because it's our money. It's not the
It's our
government's
money.
money,
It's
right?
an
It's
earned
our
benefit.
right. It's an
Earned
earned
benefit.
it's
It's
not
not
an
an
entitlement.
entitlement.
It's not an
Right.
entitlement. It's an earned
Right.
benefit, and that everybody pays into.
Right.
I just saw a private poll done by a Democratic organization testing messages about all sorts of things. The thing that tested the highest without anything close to it
Right.
had to do with protecting Social Security
Right.
from the savages that
Universal.
are,
It's
yeah. and it
universal.
and it is a it was shocking how 15, 20 points above the next thing. And so, not only is Donald Trump tanking the economy, pushing down stock prices, alienating the United States from the rest of the world. Prices are rising, betraying his fundamental promises. They are really touching the third rail here. And
They are.
in a way that for a guy who's already lost 10, 12, 14, 16 points in his job approval, they're now touching something that could be of enormous electoral consequence in 2026. So John, let me just and one last question, and then I know you've got something you would like to do before we go.
We got to talk
Is
about Medicaid a little.
Well, go, take it away. I would just
Okay, on Medicaid, since you brought it up,
Yeah.
the epiphany for most people out there on Medicaid is to realize that Medicaid pays for a majority, almost two-thirds, of long-term care in America. And long-term care is, again, one of those sneaky things that's affecting every American family. Medicaid does a lot of stuff that people out there don't know that it does, including paying for instance, nursing home care. And this has now become a universal problem as people are living longer and dealing with relatives who need long-term care. Uh, Understand how important Medicaid is and how dangerous it is that they're going to look for this $880 billion in cuts out of a program that is crucially important to American families.
Well, look, one of the slogans, I mean, the slogan of the Trump administration these days seems to be more for us and less for everybody else, right? Is sort of the way,
100%.
so I had one other talk to me
Yeah.
about, since you work with groups all over the country what are you feeling from the grassroots? What are you feeling from the state organizations and the communities that you've been working with over recent years? Are they ready for this battle? Are people getting fired up? I mean, tell me about what you're feeling organizationally, institutionally around the country.
I think the resistance is now in full swing, and like I said, I think it's going to be a fight for 18 months. Of well, 16 months left or 15 months left until we get to the midterms, and then they will take over. But it's a fight for us to stop Donald Trump from destroying the institutions of the country. So tomorrow's April 5th. I will be out there with the hands-off minions where I'm going, which is not far from here in Santa Barbara. There are 1,300 RSVPs so far. We're expecting probably a lot more than that. There's going to be a lot of people out in the streets all over the country tomorrow. We're all looking forward to it. Uh, to send this message, it's really the same message that, as you know, was sent on Tuesday in a critically important election in Wisconsin, when the Wisconsin Supreme Court remained in responsible, objective hands who will follow the law and do the right thing. And P.S. in Florida, the right way to look at what happened in Florida is, it was okay, basically a 15-point swing in two really ruby red districts in
Yeah.
Florida. If there were a 15-point swing in 2026, just take this away from this discussion, everybody. If there were a 15-point swing in 2026 in the House of Representatives in every race towards Democrats would pick up somewhere between 43 and 50 seats in the House of Representatives. And Democrats really only need to pick up four, maybe it's really five, but we can quibble about that, to get the majority in 2026. So we're all going to be out there. I got to 57 campaigns in 2018. At the age of 77, I don't think I'm really going to be able to do that anymore. But I got to 20 this last time, which wasn't too bad. And we won half of them, Simon. And, that partly accounts, not my work, but that those wins partly account for the slim margin that they're dealing with in the House, and the difficulty that they're going to have getting anything passed, including, we hope, the cuts to Medicaid that they're kind of stuck with in their budget. They've
Yeah.
got a real problem coming up, as you
Hey,
know.
listen, what is amazing is for them to follow through on this budget that gives so much money to the hyper privilege and takes money
Right.
away from everybody else and explodes the deficit would be politically suicidal. It's where they're going. But I think the opportunity for them to be successful is now greatly diminished by what's happened over the last few days. And
Absolutely.
and John, I just want everyone to know that, we've been talking the last few years. I think this is the first time I've ever talked to you when you've been home, because you've been traveling so much,
Probably true.
campaigning all across the country for House candidates, for Biden and then Harris. I mean, I'm so grateful for your vigor and energy and passion and commitment in this time when we all need to be doing our part. And speaking of doing our part, or I know that you wanted to close with a little message for everybody.
Speaking of doing what's expected of me, as opposed to being an expert on Social Security, who can tell you that before Social Security, remember this, over 50% of American seniors had incomes below the poverty line. We have tried this experiment before, and we need to not try it again. This program, along with Medicare, has kept more people out of poverty than any other domestic programs in the history of the country. So this is my message. I've been singing this message since 2016, but it's more appropriate now than ever. Da, 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 da. Good night, Donald Trump. Well, it's time to go. Da, 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 da. Good night, Donald Trump. Well, it's time to go. Do, 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 do. Don't hate to leave you, but we really must say good night, Donald Trump. Good night, and take Elon Musk with you. Good night, Donald Trump. Good night, and take J.D. Vance with you. Good night, Donald Trump. Vote for Democrats, because in 2026 we got to take over the House of Representatives, and Democrats have got to be doing this. A Bowzer moment for Hopium.
Thank you, Mr. Bowzer.
I love you, Simon. You and I are on the front
Okay,
lines.
I know. Listen, I love you, brother. Keep up the fight, and I'll bring you back from time to time to give us an update on this important battle.
I hope so. This has been great. Thanks.
Okay, and have a good. Hey, listen. Good luck tomorrow. It's going to be exciting.
I think tomorrow's going to be great. Reach
Okay.
for peace.
Take care, everybody. See you, John.